And we're live, are we?
Yes, live now. So the next session of Genesis Camp, Troy Dean. Thanks. Love to have a fellow Australian. So someone else that got up earlier this morning for this.
G'day, folks. How are ya? It is early. It's 7 o'clock here in Melbourne.
Yep, absolutely, and cold as well.
It is freezing.
So, thank you very much for taking the time, Troy, to come along and present. So look, I'll leave you to it, and what we'll do is we'll hear your presentation, and then I'll jump back in towards the end, and we'll have a bit of Q&A with people from the chat channel.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thanks, Peter.
No worries.
Cool. Well, this is going to be fun. So my office is, I'll just give you a bit of context. My office is right next door to a nightclub in Prahran, and it's still going. In fact, it'll be going all day until tomorrow morning. So, and the smoking part of the nightclub is a little outdoor area just outside my office. And so they're having a great time over there. They're having a wild party, all the young kids. I'm determined that we're going to have a bigger party here. So that's my mission, is to make sure that we party harder than the kids at Revolver. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to share my screen, which is that one there, I believe. Let's see if that works. Hey, look at that. Cool. Now, if I just go in here and go into full screen mode, this should work. So tell me, can you see that all right, Peter? Can you guys see my slide that says recurring revenue roadmap? Maybe you just want to give me a heads up in Slack or something. Yep, all good?
Yep, all good.
Perfect. All right, let's kick this show off. My name is Troy Dean, for those that don't know. Thank you very much for having me. I am recovering from the man flu, so I'm a little bit hoarse and a bit croaky. I sound like I've got a peg on my nose, but I don't, I promise you. And today I'm going to be talking about generating recurring revenue in your business. Now, this isn't exactly strictly Genesis specific. Doesn't matter what you use, but you can. This is relevant, but not specific to Genesis. So just wanted to frame that. And what I'm going to do today, hopefully, is give you some action steps and actually give you a roadmap that you can implement moving forward. And I'm also going to share my slides with you and a workbook at the end of this presentation. So make sure you stick around for details on how to get that. Okay, the recurring revenue roadmap. Let me see if I can navigate my way through this. Here we go. Woohoo! Let's start off with a little story. And the heroine of our story is this lovely girl on the right here, Katie, who is having breakfast here with her very annoying looking boyfriend. And all the ingredients that they've made for breakfast came to them in a box during the week from a company called Aussie Farmers Direct. They pay about $25 a week, and they get fresh organic produce delivered straight to their door. And they don't know what's in the box. It's a surprise. So every week they get a box of goodies, and whatever's in there is what they're going to be using to cook for the week. And here's Katie here. I promise you it's the same girl. She just looks a little bit different after breakfast and a shower. She's on the tram going to work here in Melbourne. And in order to get on the tram, she used her Myki card, which again, she is topping up on a subscription every month. And that Myki card gets her on all the public transport here around Melbourne. Then she's at work. This is still the same girl, I promise. Katie's now at work. She works for an advertising agency. She's a designer. And the first thing, of course, she does when she gets to work is she goes and makes herself a coffee. And her favorite coffee is made by this Italian company called Illy. And they just deliver coffee to the office every week on a subscription. Pretty neat, eh? So they never run out of pods. Here's the invoice that they get for the machine and the recurring items you'll see down there at the bottom, the pods that get delivered every week. Now, for morning tea, she grabs some fruit, or coffee break, as you guys say on the other side of the planet. We say morning tea down here because we were colonized by the Brits, you see. For morning tea, she grabs some fruit from the fruit box in the staff room, and that's delivered by buyfruit.com.au. That's delivered every day to the office. And then she goes back to her desk and turns on Spotify, listen to some groovy tunes while she's working away. And of course, it's ad-free because they pay for a premium subscription. Part of her job is to do some design work. So she goes over to iStockPhoto.com and pays an exorbitant amount of money for some stock images that used to be a lot cheaper. And again, the company's got a subscription to iStock. For lunch, this is same girl, Katie here, having a nice healthy salad for lunch. And of course, that lunch has come to her via City Lunch Club, delivered to you daily, curated lunches from the top New York restaurants She managed to get it delivered to her in Melbourne, so she's doing pretty well there. And then after lunch, she orders some copywriting for one of her clients, and she uses Snap by Copy Hackers, where the company has a whole bunch of credits in their account, and they can use those credits to order copywriting services. After work, Katie, up the end there in the yellow singlet, goes to a yoga class because she's a member. She pays $50 a fortnight to have unlimited yoga at her favorite yoga school. And then after yoga, she goes home, does a little bit of personal grooming because she's got a big night tonight, and she has her grooming products delivered to the house once a month by a company called Shave Mob on a subscription, pays a nominal amount per month to have razors delivered to the house so she never runs out. And then, of course, she puts on one of her favorite frocks at the moment that she's got a selection to choose from. And again, these are delivered to her once a month by the Ms. Collection. Rent from the Ms. Collection. We deliver stylish clothing and accessories mailed out on the 15th of each month. And you basically keep what you want and send back what you don't. Then after her function, she comes home and collapses on the couch with her annoying-looking boyfriend and watches some Netflix before they go to bed. And, of course, her entire day is managed for her by her virtual assistant, based in the US, working for a company called Zirtual, where she pays a monthly subscription to have an assistant helping her manage her calendar and her inbox and her appointments. Cool. Hey, welcome to the subscription economy. You knew that was coming, didn't you? Everything that she's done here is based on a subscription. And this is really the way that things are moving. And we all know in this space, I mean, how many things do you subscribe to during the day? And how many new services, how many new businesses are you looking at subscribing to? David Skok, forentrepreneurs.com. If you haven't seen this blog, check it out, forentrepreneurs.com, F-O-R, not as in the number 4, but as in this blog is for entrepreneurs, forentrepreneurs.com. David Skok, who's a big brain in this area, he said recently, I've watched several hundred businesses fail because they've not found a way to acquire customers at a low enough cost. And so here's the thing about subscription customers and recurring revenue. It's much easier and cheaper to get an existing customer to pay you money than it is to get a brand new customer to pay you money. It's now easier than ever to create recurring revenue from anywhere in the world. The technology is literally at our fingertips, and the way we communicate and buy has changed forever. Excuse me. Let's have a look at a couple of traditional business models that have been on subscription for a long time now. Private health insurance. I don't know what it's like in the States, but in Australia, we pay exorbitant amounts of money to subscribe to private health insurance so that when we go to hospital, most of it is covered. We don't have to pay all of it, but we have to still pay a little bit. Doesn't really kind of add up. But anyway, private health is just paid monthly on a subscription. Now, here's the thing. Nobody gave them permission to do this. They just decided that that was their business model. There's no law that says if you sell private health, you have to pay monthly on subscription. I mean, I can't go to a private health company and say, I tell you what, here's 10 grand, just cover me for the rest of my life. No. I can't do that. And there's no law to say that, that can't be done. That's just not the way their business model is designed. And we've bought into it hook, line, and sinker. They have said, this is the way we do business. And we've said, okay, you're insuring my health. That's a pretty good position for them to be in. So we play by their rules. Of course, mobile phone plans, another example of subscription revenue. I can't go to Vodafone or Telstra or T2 if you're in the States and say, hey, I want to give you $10,000 for just to cover my phone bill for the rest of my life. You have to pay every month. And if you don't pay, you don't use. Again, no one gave them permission to do it. They just decided that was the business model that worked for them. And of course, Netflix, this is completely disrupting the entertainment business. And I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for Netflix. I'm thankful for RDO. I'm a little bit dubious about iTunes Music so far. The content is good. The interface, not so good. And I'm an Apple fanboy, so that's big coming from me. Anyway, thankfully, I can now just stream whatever content I want when I want it on whatever device I want it. And this is certainly the way that more and more business models are moving. Let's have a look at a couple of new business models. Car ownership. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that there would come a day where we wouldn't own a car, that you just belong to an organization called FlexiCar. You pay a membership. It's about $70 a year. to be a FlexiCar member, and then you have the privilege of renting their cars. It's good, isn't it? Pay us a membership so that you can then rent our cars. Think about that. You're paying them a fee for the privilege of then buying their services. It's not a bad business model. Dollar Shave Club, of course, we're all familiar with that one. Recently, there was an article on Reddit from a couple of guys who bought Wet Shave Club, which is a similar product to Dollar Shave Club. It's called Wet Shave Club. It's basically a subscription box business. They bought it for $4,000. Did some social marketing, didn't spend any money on advertising, did some social marketing and some viral competitions on Facebook, did some blogging, did some outreach to some influencers. Within 9 months, they spent $4,000 on the business. Within 9 months, they're about to do their first $100,000 month. Thank you very much. And of course, one of my favorite case studies is Michelle Bridges, who, if you don't know, she's one of Australia's most successful personal trainers, really. She started off as a personal trainer. She's now generating about $67 million a year, and a big chunk of that comes from her 12-week body transformation, which is 12 weekly payments of $19.99. Subscription recurring revenue. It's nice, isn't it? So instead of training somebody once, I'll tell you what, let's make a bunch of videos about personal training, stick it up online, and make revenue continually. The recurring revenue movement is here, and I'm not the only one saying this. There was a conference in San Francisco in May called Subscribed. The way people buy has changed for good. It's time for your business to change with them. And some of the speakers at this event were, the CEO of Zendesk. There are about 35 speakers from all over the world who all have subscription business models and recurring revenue. So I'm now going to walk you through how to create recurring revenue without the overwhelm of building new products from scratch. And I must warn you, there's a lot to get through in this presentation, and I do want to have some Q&A at the end. So I'm going to move pretty quickly. I hope you're awake because I've had my coffee. All right, I'm going to show you how to do this by showing you how I went from client services to 100% recurring revenue over the last 2 years, and how we proved the market existed before we built anything. That is my name. Of course, I'm Troy Dean. This is the Recurring Revenue Roadmap. Please hit me up on Twitter at Troy Dean. For those of you that don't know, I am the co-founder of WP Elevation, a business accelerator program for WordPress consultants. You can check that out at wpelevation.com. And I'm also, this is the recent podcast that we published last week. WP Elevation has a podcast, of course. And one of my heroes there on the right, Seth Godin, was generous enough to come on the podcast and consult with one of our members, Christina Romero, who is there on the left, and gave her some advice about her business. And we published that on Thursday. And it was very humbling to have Mr. Godin on the podcast. It was very exciting indeed. I'm also the co-founder of Video User Manuals, and I'm the voice in all the videos. That's true, I know. I'm a bit like a game show host. Video User Manuals, of course, is the video plugin, tutorial plugin you put in your client's dashboard to teach them how to use WordPress so you can get on with doing cool stuff. But what I really think I bring to this conversation more than anything is 8 years of split testing. I have split tested just about everything in the business. I get bored very quickly. I don't like doing things that don't work. And so I split test things and then I document the results. And what I'm here to give you today is what works. And the benefits of recurring revenue. If you're thinking that recurring revenue is not for you, I can tell you recurring revenue gives you predictable cash flow, which is awesome if you ever want to go on vacation. Allows you to plan for growth. You can predict when you can hire someone because you know how much money you're going to have coming into the business. It gives you loyal customers, steady income. It means you can be location independent. I literally can work from anywhere in the world as long as I've got an internet connection. I just choose to work in my office in Melbourne because I like it. I think Melbourne's one of the best places in the world to live. And for those of you who disagree, it's probably because you just haven't been here yet. Oh, excuse me. Oh, dear me, I shouldn't really try and be funny when I'm sick. And it allows you to impact more people having recurring revenue. Or as my friend Seth said on the podcast the other day, impact the right people. So this is the big distinction for me, is recurring revenue has allowed me to say no to most client work that comes in the door because I don't want to do it. I'm not passionate about the project. And, I now just work with select clients on projects that I'm really passionate about. And recurring revenue allows me to do that. So before I hear you say this won't work in my business, you can always find an excuse. And I think the web design business and the WordPress consulting business is the prime business for creating recurring revenue. So let's get into it. The recurring revenue roadmap consists of 6 Ps. I like frameworks and I like to peg things I like to put things on pegs in my brain. So I'm going to give you 6 P's of recurring revenue in the hope that you will remember them. The first one is people. Some of you may have seen this presentation at WordCamp Brisbane. If you have, I apologize, but hopefully the second time round, something new will sink in. So people, you got to know your peeps. You got to know who it is that is most likely to buy something from you on a recurring basis. Look through your existing database and ask yourself, who is it that I invoice on a regular basis? Who is it that continues to buy products or services from me? And then what we did is we put together a perfect client avatar based on one of our products. So this is actually a perfect avatar for our podcast listener. Sorry, ladies, but most of our audience are men, and most of them are around about early 30s, and there's a lot of them called Matt for some reason. So we put together a perfect client avatar called WordPress Matt, and we basically outline what Matt is all about, his demographics, his age, his college education, the fact that he has a young family, and that's a huge motivating factor for him to make his business a success, and what his aim is. His aim is to grow his business and be location independent, and his biggest problem is that he doesn't value himself enough, and he's constantly underpricing himself. So that's why we run the podcast. We run the podcast to basically help Matt with his business. Everything we do in our business is to help WordPress Matt. So I'd strongly encourage you to put together your own client avatar. Here's a couple of other examples from Help Scout, Growth Graham and Help Desk Heidi. Just a very simple image, give them a name and write a paragraph or two about them. Here's how they use their avatars in the business. So for Growth Graham, the big catchphrase for him is don't let another email slip through the cracks. And for Help Desk Heidi, it's meet the world's first invisible help desk. So that's the kind of messaging that they put out for those 2 avatars. So they speak in a slightly different tone to those people based on what their desires and fears are. If you haven't read it, read Duct Tape Marketing by John Chanch. He gives us a great format in that book for putting together our perfect avatar, which is this: very simply, physical description plus what they want, plus their biggest problem, plus how they buy, plus the best way to communicate equals your perfect client. Now, as I said before, I'm going to give you my slides, so don't panic. Don't wear your hand out writing down notes or get RSI typing into Evernote. I'm going to give you the slides at the end of this. And here's another great example, another great template from HubSpot. They've got this fantastic thing, which is kind of a little bit secret at the moment. No one really knows about it. It's called Buyer Persona Template. If you just go to HubSpot, or if you just Google HubSpot Buyer Persona Template, you'll find this. It's a little bit underground at the moment, and but you can opt in, and they will send you this great PowerPoint presentation where you can start putting together your own perfect buyer persona. So first things first, you got to know your peeps. And why you got to know your peeps? Let me tell you why. You got to know what it is people are most likely to buy. Because here's the thing. Seth said this the other day on the podcast, and it was a huge reminder for me. And I'll show you how we've done this at the end of this presentation. Don't build something and then go try sell it. Here's an idea. Find people who want to buy stuff. Work out what it is they want to buy. Find people with money. Find people with a budget. Find people with the means and the resources to buy something on a recurring basis to solve a recurring problem for them. Find out what it is they want to buy and then put it in front of them. Yeah, radical idea, I know, but trust me, it works. So you've got to know your people. You've got to know who it is that is most likely to buy from you and what their pain points are and what it is they're looking for. And once you know your people, you've got to design a product. So let me tell you at a high level. You got to know what you got. You got to know what you got. And this is what we do. We just put together, hey, look, it ain't pretty. We're not going to win any awards with this, but at least we got one. We just put together a 1-page product overview outlining what our products are. So in this case, WP Elevation is the product, the category, and this is important. These are the key elements. You got to know the category. You got to know how it works, the components, and the benefits. So our category, it's an online business accelerator program. How it works, members log into a private website and get video training and a members forum. The product components are a members website, video training, templates, webinars, coaching calls, members forum, email newsletters, and live events. And the product benefits is that our members have the information, structure, and support required to confidently position themselves as premium service providers in the marketplace. It allows them to increase their profits and build a sustainable business. That's why WP Elevation exists. There's nothing on there about money or price, is there? So that I can basically, if someone says, what's WP Elevation? That's the conversation I have with them. Ask me anything about WP Elevation. It's basically going to come back to that 1-pager. And I can print that out and hand it out to people. I don't do that very often. You won't find me walking up and down the street just handing that out to random people. But if I had to go to a meetup, WordPress meetup in a hurry, and they said, hey, can you bring some information about WP Elevation? I could just print a bunch of them out and hand them out. That's what it is, yeah? Very simple. And everyone else in the organization, my team, knows exactly what we're about and what we're trying to achieve. WP Curve, here's a great example of a one-pager. WP Curve empowers business owners to build their business without worrying about WordPress. You get 24/7 access to the world's best developers for maintenance, support, and small jobs. That is a one-pager. So the idea is to take something like that, the one-pager, and turn it into a one-page website. If you can distill your offering down to a one-page website, then you're doing well. If you need more than a page, then you probably need to do some more work on your messaging. Here's another great example. This is an accounting firm here in Melbourne. They have subscription, recurring revenue subscription monthly plans. This one's called Kicking Ass. It's $999 a month. And this is what you get, all the components. These are all line items that they would sell individually. A kickoff meeting, Xero subscription, year-end accounts, BAS review. In Australia, we have a thing called the GST, the Goods and Services Tax. And every 3 months, you need to lodge a business activity statement telling the government how much you've earned, how much GST you've collected, and how much you've paid. You do a reconciliation, and you either get some money back or you give them some money. Excuse me. And so your accountant does that for you and charges you $300 every quarter to do that. Well, these guys have just packaged all of that up into one product, and you pay them $9.99 a month, and you get all of it. It's pretty good, hey? Unbounce. This is another great example. These guys build landing pages. This is their landing page. Build, publish, and A/B test landing pages without IT. Increase the ROI of your marketing campaigns. Boom. By the way, if you haven't used Unbounce, it is slick. Really good. Not suggesting it should replace WordPress or Genesis. I'm just saying for certain circumstances and certain applications, it's very handy. But the point is here, that's a good one-pager, a great distilled way of communicating what their offering is. So the core things that you need to think about is the category of your product, the components, in other words, what's in it, and how it works. Dan Norris at WP Curve does this really well. How it works. You really need to be clear about how your product works. Let me just see if I can go back to, on their site, it says how it works. Well, you email us, we fix your problem, you get on with your business, right? It's pretty good. So, that's how it works. I email you, you fix it, I don't have to worry about it. I know how it works. So try and think about the onboarding process and how your product actually works. So here are some examples in our space. Hosting is the obvious one. Yeah, hosting is recurring revenue. It's also very competitive and everyone's price conscious on that. Maintenance, I think, are the holy grail for our space. Selling maintenance plans are definitely the holy grail. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later if you like. Support. So supporting the website, supporting their business, giving them, some kind of content management support. There you go, content management strategy, advising them on content management because Lord knows clients don't know how to write content. Email campaigns. Clients might want to send an email campaign every month, but they don't know how to do it. And if they send an email campaign every month, they'll probably generate some more business from their clients or their customer base. So you could just run an email campaign for them once a month. That's recurring revenue. Webinars are a great way of giving information. You ever have those moments where you go, well, I just spent half an hour on the phone telling that client a whole bunch of stuff for free because they just wanted to pick my brain. Wouldn't it be nice to get paid for that? Well, run a webinar and get 10 people on the call once a month and let them pick your brain and charge them a nominal amount. Advice. There you go. Just giving advice on webinars or coaching calls or presentations. Affiliate products is another way of generating recurring revenue. If you love SiteGround, stick a SiteGround banner on your website, write a review and tell your clients, hey, you should go host your stuff at SiteGround. Memberships, another good way. And credits. Credits are really interesting. So clients just top up their account with credits and then they can use their credits throughout the year. Credits usually have a 12-month life cycle. So they buy 300 credits and let's say a credit's worth $1. Let's keep it simple. They put $300 in their account. They've got 300 credits. They call up. They need an email template implemented in MailChimp. You might charge them, I don't know, whatever, $250 for that. So they've got 50 credits left. The credits roll over, but at the end of the year, the credits expire. So if they don't use you for 3 months, that's cool. The credits just keep topping up. And you put them on a recurring payment. So you say, hey, what do you want to do? Just top your credits up 300 every month. And then they might end up with 1,500 credits in their account. Then they come along and say, hey, I need a little landing page built for this promotion we're having. Sweet. It's going to be 900 credits. It leaves you 600. Pretty cool. It's a good way of them managing their cash flow and you reducing your overhead. Because I'll tell you this right now, One of the things that will kill small business is chasing money. One of the most expensive things in small business is chasing outstanding money. So I think recurring revenue is a great way of just nullifying that conversation. Let's just get you on a subscription plan, and it's easy for them to manage cash flow, and it reduces your admin overhead. Snap by Copy Hackers, they do credits for copywriting. Buy a pack of Snap credits, spend them on copy jobs for a year. Pretty good offering, yeah? So think about how you can apply that to what you're doing. That's their pricing table there. Information and insights, online courses. So there's a bunch of people doing this in this space, teaching people how to use WordPress. Sean Hesketh has done this pretty well at WP 101. You go there, you sign up, you get a whole bunch of videos that teach you how to use WordPress. And for him, that's recurring revenue. He makes the course once, people keep buying it. The thing is, the key distinction here, let me be very clear about this. The way to generate recurring revenue is that you need to provide recurring value to your customer. So this is why I think hosting and maintenance plans for mission critical websites, i.e. e-commerce, are the absolute holy grail and the lowest hanging fruit there is. Find someone who's doing at least $10,000 a month through an e-commerce store, partner up with them and say, hey, for $397 a month, we'll make sure your website never falls over. Because if it falls over and they're doing 10 grand a month, they're losing money, right? They're losing money straight away. So I think that's one of the lowest pieces of hanging fruit, and some of the easiest gains there is to find e-commerce stores that are doing good revenue and partner up with them for maintenance plans. So you're going to know what you got. You know your people, you know what you got. The third P is packaging. And here's the thing. Nobody really cares about your product. Nobody really cares about you, unfortunately. Nobody cares about your business or your recurring revenue as much as you do. WIIFM is the world's most popular radio station, and of course it stands for what's in it for me. All they care about is what's in it for them. So you've got to understand how to package something up and present it to a client in a way that makes it a complete no-brainer for them. And I think one of the biggest opportunities we all have is to get better at explaining benefits. We're really comfortable talking about plugins and technology, and we're really comfortable talking about features. We're really comfortable talking about backups and security and software updates and managed WP and infinite WP and theme frameworks. The clients don't care about any of that. All they care about is benefits. What's in it for me? Let me give you some examples. Mailbox is an awesome mail app made by the guys at Dropbox. And look at the first thing you see on their website. Fly through your email. Woohoo! I'm interested in that. Put it off until tomorrow or this weekend or someday. Oh, I'm definitely interested in that. They're not explaining how they're doing it. The headline is the benefit. Fly through your email. Awesome. I'm in. By the way, I use this. I use Mailbox. It's excellent. Here's another one. Zirtual. Work-life balanced. There you go. That's a benefit. I have no idea at this point what they do. Work-life balanced. Could be a podcast. Could be shoes. I have no idea. Work-life balanced. Dedicated virtual assistants for entrepreneurs, professionals, and small teams. That's the feature. The benefit is work-life balanced. Your ride on demand. Hey, sweet. That's a benefit. My ride on demand, yeah? Transport in minutes with the Uber app. That's the feature. The benefit, your ride on demand. So think about how you can start to reframe your features into benefits. And then if you really want to put this stuff on steroids, get into the idea of value stacking, which is basically stacking benefit on top of benefit on top of benefit until the client's like, wow, this sounds amazing. This must be worth like $1,000. And you say, you're right, it is, but you can have it for $300 a month. Here's an example. I know that sounds a bit cheesy, but I'm making it a bit cheesy for the sake of the presentation and to make sure you're awake. Zirtual do this great thing where they just stack benefits up and they stack value up in their monthly pricing plans. So Entrepreneur, which is where I started out, by the way. When I first started using Zirtual, I started out on the Entrepreneur plan. I get a dedicated US-based Zirtual assistant, up to 16 hours a month, same day turnaround. One user, I get supported communication via email or phone, and they do my calendaring and scheduling, inbox management, integrates my credit card, and I get Zirtual Plus benefits. Sweet, $3.99 a month. I'll look at that straight away and go, 16 hours, $3.99 a month. That's like what, $25 an hour? Same day turnaround. Beautiful. Too easy. I can basically employ someone up to 16 hours a month for $400 and they're going to manage my calendar and my email and, basically sort my life out for me. That's fantastic. So what they could say is, hey, get a Zirtual assistant for up to 16 hours a month and it's going to cost you $400 or $25 an hour. And I'd go, oh, that's not bad. But because they actually stack the value, they stack the benefits up and increase the value and then give me the price, then obviously it looks like it's great value for money. And by the way, it is great value for money. If anyone is looking to scale up in their business and need some help, you should definitely check out Zirtual. So once you've got your benefits sorted out, the key thing is to craft your offer. Make them an offer they can't refuse. Lead Chat, who are a bunch of guys who work in the same building here where I am at Revolver Creative, they have 24/7 monitored chat widgets on websites. And this is their offer here. Get more leads. Triple the amount of conversions from your hard-earned ad traffic. So check this out. Check out the distinction. Triple the amount of conversions from your hard-earned ad traffic. So they are targeting people who are buying traffic from PPC. That's who their target is. And they're saying triple the amount of conversions from your hard-earned ad traffic. That is a fantastic offer. I know exactly what I'm getting, and I know exactly whether or not it's right for me. And I think most importantly, if you can, work out the story of why you're doing what you're doing. Because as I said before, no one really cares about your recurring revenue as much as you do. No one cares about why, no one cares about the benefits to your business. No one cares about the fact that you're putting people on subscription plans because it's helping you with your invoicing or your admin overhead. No one cares about that. But they do care about why you're doing what you're doing. So if you haven't read it, read Start With Why by Simon Sinek. That's a great place to start. Our why here is we want to help WordPress consultants build the business they need to support their lifestyle. That's why we get out of bed every single day at WP Elevation. And that's a far more relevant and engaging and compelling story than if I say, well, the reason we get out of bed every day is because we want to generate enough recurring revenue by selling things to WordPress consultants to sustain our business and make a profit. No one cares about that. Like our members would not buy into what we're doing if that's why we're doing it. So you have to have a bigger why. Maybe your why is that you know that e-commerce stores just hemorrhage money if they have any problems with the website, and that your mission is to help e-commerce stores maximize their profit by taking care of all the technical stuff in the back end. Maybe that's your why. Work out what your why is. And as I said, if you don't know your why, read Start With Why by Simon Sinek. All right, that's packaging. Let's have a look at process. Here's the thing, because once you start building recurring revenue, if you haven't got your processes in place, you'll just get overwhelmed with work, and it could crush you. So how are you going to deliver? How are you going to deliver what it is that you're promising? What we did, and this is a very high level example. This is by no means finished, but this is just an example. We started to document all of the standard operating procedures that we would need in our business to deliver the value that we had promised our marketplace in exchange for the recurring revenue. So all we do is we list the procedure name down the left-hand side and then the description of what that procedure does. So one example is webinar recording. So how do we post the recording of the monthly training webinar in the members website every month? Because if it's just left up to the same person to do that every month and that person's on holidays or leaves, then we have a vulnerability in the business. And part of our promise is that when we record our webinars, they get posted up in the members website. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer for them to make it. And if Dave Graham's listening, I'm sorry. But most of the time we get them up there within about 4 hours of the webinar finishing. And that's because we have a process in place that anyone in the organization can follow. So ask yourself what other procedures you need, and then just give them a name and a description. Document the procedures and then use technology and people to drive the procedures. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So some procedures that you might need is a sales procedure. How do you actually sell this product to someone? Onboarding. What happens when they say yes? Oh, you want to do this? Okay, great. Let me just go and set up a page on my website and plug Stripe in, and then I'll send you a link. No. Have that stuff set up in advance. Support. How are you going to support those customers who are on recurring revenue plans? Because when you have more and more customers on recurring revenue, you will get more and more support tickets and inquiries. So, using something like Help Scout, for example, to streamline your support. How are you going to report, especially if you're on maintenance plans? One of the big key distinctions to keeping recurring customers happy is to basically let them know what they're getting every month in exchange for their spend, right? So what is it they're getting every month in exchange for the money they're giving you? And a monthly report can be a great way of doing that. And this thing can be automated and pushed out in a couple of seconds a month for each client. So just document the procedure name and the procedure description, and then document, use technology and people to drive them. So let me just go back and recap this. You want to come up with this first, just a name and a description of all of the procedures that you're going to need to run the recurring revenue product. And if it doesn't matter if you can't think of all of them right now, just get the main ones down that you know that you're going to need, and then flesh out each procedure, document each procedure, and then use technology and people to drive them. Okay, profit, one of my favorite topics, because here's the thing. Profit is not a dirty word, right? You actually owe it to yourself and your customers to make a profit, because if you're not running a profitable business and you hit the wall, then you're not going to be able to service your existing clients. So you owe it to your clients to run a profitable business and run a tight ship. And what we do is we identify the tools and the team that we're going to need to build to run our recurring products at a profit. And we just put them together in a little sheet like this and say, hey, here are all the tools we're going to need on the left-hand side. We're going to need GoToWebinar, Vimeo Pro, Infusionsoft, WordPress, LearnDash, Asana, Skype, ClickFunnels, and there's a whole bunch of other tools that I haven't listed there. And here's the team on the right-hand side. We've got myself, we've got Jin, who's our community manager and our podcast producer. We've got Jay, our developer. Michelle is our webinar assistant producer. Our Chris is our podcast post-production guy. Lara does our show notes, and Pat is our designer and front-end developer. So that's the team that we're going to need to get on board, to run the processes and use the tools to make sure we can deliver this thing at a profit, right? Lead Chat is a great example of a tool that you can use. Lead Chat is a great example of a tool that you can use to help you automate some of those processes. So this basically automates getting leads from your website. Yeah, this is just one example of how you can use a tool to automate some of those processes to bring your costs down so that you can price your recurring product competitively in the marketplace and win more customers. So some of the processes and that you might need tools and team for: sales and marketing, customer service, server admin's a big one, shipping and returns if you're dealing with physical products, accounting, you know, who's going to do the bookkeeping and keep you compliant. So you want to come up with a document that looks a little bit like this. It's what I call the profit plan. It just gives you the tools and the team that you need to compile to run this recurring product at a profit. Okay, the tools and the team, profit, and now finally proof. How? And this is actually my favorite part of the whole thing. How do you prove this is going to work before you go and build it? And this is what I love doing. I love proving an idea before we go and spend a whole bunch of time building something, right? So build what you know you can sell. And here's how we did it with WP Elevation. Here was the proof of market document. And this all starts with a theory. This all starts with a hypothesis. My theory was that most WordPress freelancers undervalue their skills and therefore undercharge in order to secure clients, because WordPress is so competitive and WordPress was booming. I saw this happening about 3 years ago. I thought this is a race to the bottom if we don't get our story right about our pricing and our worth. If we're just building WordPress websites, it's a commodity and we're all going to end up making no money and working for, you know, Upwork or Elance or working for other agencies as technicians. I also realized that WordPress consultants work in isolation and have very few indicators that they're doing the right thing, because most of us work from home or from small offices. We crave the connection and validation that comes from having a strong professional network. That was the problem that I thought was worth solving. So our message was work with better clients on better projects and get paid better fees. That was the marketing message that we wanted to test. The riskiest assumption, or the big question was, will people pay $97 for information? That was the test for us. We thought, okay, let's run a webinar, sell it for $97. And if we can sell 30 tickets, that's enough for us to say, yep, let's push forward on this idea. The riskiest assumption is, will they trust us to provide them with a premium solution to this problem, given the amount of freely available information in the marketplace? That was the biggest assumption for us, was, will they pay us for this information that, you know, in theory, they could probably spend a whole bunch of time Googling around and piece this together themselves. Will they pay us to deliver a synthesized solution for them? So what we did is we put our business into business laboratory mode. We said no to client services for a period of time, and we could afford to do that because we had some recurring revenue with the Video User Manuals plugin. And then we worked through these 4 things one at a time. The problem worth solving, did the message match the market, will people pay, and what's the riskiest assumption? So the problem worth solving Well, are others doing it? In our case, we knew that, for example, Chris Lemmer, who is coming up on Genesis Camp in a little while, we knew that Chris Lemmer was coaching WordPress consultants. We knew that Matt Medeiros had the Matt Report podcast. We knew that there was a hunger for this, and we knew that other people, we knew that Brent Weaver at UGurus was doing something similar, and Brennan Dunn had W Freelancing Rate. So we knew that others were kind of doing this in this space, but they weren't doing exactly what we wanted to do, but they were doing something similar. So for example, the other day I Googled dance class membership to see if anyone was doing that, because I had a client ask me about recurring revenue, and she said, hey, I run dance classes. So I Googled dance class membership, and I found KFit. KFit is fitness for everyone. Hundreds of options at your fingertips daily. So they're not in Melbourne yet, but they are launching soon, and you basically pay a nominal amount per month, and then you dial up the app on your phone, and you can book in yoga, CrossFit, Pilates, cycling, Zumba, pole dancing, kickboxing, bodybuilding, boot camp, and so much more, because they go around, they contract all the suppliers to get all the suppliers on board, and then they bring you that information in one handy app so that you don't have to go find it, yeah? So is someone else doing it? Yes. Therefore, I think there's a market for it, and that you should maybe, continue. In the accounting space, is anyone doing recurring revenue in the accounting space? Yes, they are. The 5 Ways Group have recurring revenue packages. So if someone else is doing it, it means that we're not insane, and that maybe we should have a crack at it as well. So here's an idea. Get out of the building and actually go and talk to people at meetups and find out, just start asking questions. What's the big pain point? You'll find when you start talking with potential clients, you'll find one of the problems is clients don't like changing vendors. They don't like switching suppliers because they have to set up a whole new billing relationship. There's a whole bunch of trust issues involved. They like to do continued business with their select set of vendors. So talk to your existing clients and just start thinking about what kind of recurring products that you can put in front of them. Now I'm going to give you the worst business advice ever. At some point, you just got to go with your gut instinct. And then run through a feedback loop to see if your message matches the market. This is the first thing you should do. Once you've got an idea for a recurring revenue product and you think that it might work, then run this experiment to see if your message matches the market. Find your audience. And yes, the best place to find your audience is on Facebook. I don't care what anyone says. The best place to find your audience is on Facebook using Audience Insights. Go to Facebook, make sure you've got an ads account, and get into the Audience Insights tool and go nuts. It's completely free and will blow your mind. And then set up a very simple landing page that looks like this. Now, the landing page doesn't actually have to do anything. It could be a JPEG that you just stick up in the browser. I know that you wouldn't do that because we're web developers, but this could just be a picture of a landing page. All you're doing is testing whether or not people are going to click on the ads on Facebook. Just set up a landing page with a message. Our message is, WordPress consultants, grab your free ebook, A Better WordPress for Clients. We just want to know if WordPress consultants are interested in making WordPress better for their clients, right? Because if they are, then they're probably going to buy video user manuals. They're the right market. So we run Facebook ads to test this page. By the way, very proud to announce this page is currently converting at 88%. I'm not kidding. 88% of people that visit this page sign up for the free ebook. It's amazing. You know why? I think because we got the message right. Here's another example. This girl is a singer, but she sells a crash course in what she calls belting. Discover the crazy simple 3-step formula that will teach you how to belt sing like a pro. Now, I'm a singer, and I didn't even know there was a thing called belting. So her message is, belting crash course, learn how to belt in 3 easy video lessons. So it's a very simple landing page. All you're doing is testing whether or not people are going to click on the Facebook ad. Now, if you are actually collecting email addresses, then start asking people if they will pay for the kind of product that you're building. You don't have to have built anything at this point. Yeah. Make them an offer they can't refuse. Talk to potential customers. Put together a concierge version. Concierge version is basically where you do everything manually until you can prove that there's an idea worth pursuing, and then you start using technology and tools and the team to automate it and run it at a profit. But the concierge version initially is where you just do everything hands-on and do everything manually. And then ask for the order. Actually ask, hey, I'm going to come back in a couple of weeks' time with this product and we're going to have a prototype. Will you pre-order it? Because people will tell you what they think you want to hear. And when you start asking them for money, then they will change their sentiment. So just ask them to commit. We did this. We ran the Recurring Revenue Roadmap live workshop in Melbourne in May, late May this year. about 6 weeks ago, and we actually sold tickets before we'd planned the event. There you go. We sold a bunch of tickets, and we sold enough to basically cover our cost and book the room and put the event on before we ran the event. Now, what would have happened if I'd only sold 10 tickets? I just would have refunded them. Said, oh, well, look, hey, that didn't work. Sorry. And I would have moved on to something else. But what was I doing here? I was testing, will people pay for the recurring revenue roadmap? Is this an idea worth pursuing? Turns out it is. And the riskiest assumption can be things like market size, trust, and whether or not it's going to be profitable. So mitigate the risk. Here's our example. I'll just quickly skip through this so we can get to some Q&A. Will WordPress consultants pay for information? And when I say riskiest assumption, what you basically want to do here is take out the riskiest part of the business before you invest a lot of time and resources into it. Okay, so this might be some advanced stuff, but stay with me. Will WordPress consultants pay for information? So we set up a premium webinar 2 years ago in May 2013, and we sold tickets for between $97 and $197. We sold 84 tickets in about 5 days, and then we did 55 surveys after the webinar, and we got 55 responses to the survey, and people just said, hey, this was awesome, I want to do this again. I had 6 Skype calls with some people that I knew who were on the webinar and in the survey. And then we built WP Elevation. We did a 4-day launch, which means we literally opened the doors for 4 days and then we shut the doors, and we made 55 sales in those first 4 days. And for us, that was enough to say, righto, there's something here worth pursuing. There's an idea worth pursuing. Let's go. And here we are 2 years later. So what's the problem worth solving? Does your message match the market? Will people pay? And what is the riskiest assumption? And that's how you prove it before you actually build anything. They are the 6 Ps of recurring revenue. I'm happy to do some Q&A. And I'm also now happy to let you know that in order to get my slides and to get the workbook from the recurring revenue workshop that we ran in Melbourne last week, I can't give you the recordings, unfortunately, because they're only for paying attendees. But if you want the workbook and you want my slides for this presentation, we've got a free Facebook group called Recurring Revenue Roadmap, where there's a whole bunch of, there's about 300 of us in there at the moment talking about, it's completely free, talking about creating recurring revenue and all helping each other create recurring revenue. So just go to revrev.me/FB. That's revrev.me/FB. Apply to join. It's a private group. Apply to join the Facebook group, and I will approve you, and then we can continue the conversation about recurring revenue. As I said, it's completely free, and there's about 300 of us in there right now helping each other create recurring revenue in our business. And we're not all WordPress consultants. There are, the majority are, but there's a whole bunch of people outside the web space as well. So come on in and continue the conversation. Hey, Peter, I hear that you're back on there, are you?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Cool.
I'll tell you what, Troy, if you're feeling down and you want to make yourself feel better about yourself, just jump into the comments. There's lots of accolades about the presentation.
Oh, cool. Where would I find the comments? Where are they?
They're in Crowdcast. So
okay, I'll have
maybe
to,
when you're finished, you can.
Yeah, I'll have to log into Crowdcast later. Maybe you can flick me the URL in the Slack channel later, and I can log in and check it out. Thank you. That's good to know. Well, I hope that was useful. I hope some people got some stuff out of that.
Yeah, look, absolutely. So, look, there's a couple of questions. I actually want to put you on the spot about one.
Good.
Before we even jump into that, a lot of people in North America, the slide that you had about the health fund for $13.48 a month, they want to know where they get a piece of that. Obviously, health insurance is cheap in Australia.
I think it was $13.48 a week, actually. I think
was
if you go back and look at that slide, it'll be $13.48 a week, yeah. And there'll be a whole bunch of terms and conditions attached to that as well. So, you know, from $13.48 a week, which basically just covers a trip to the dentist once a month.
So listen, one question that came up earlier on, and it's a good one. So I'm a developer. I work in an agency. So a lot of things you talked about hosting and support ring true for me. But what if someone's just a graphic designer? So ideas for them, because obviously they may be working for other developers, or they're working directly with the client. But have you come across that as a question as to ideas for just someone who's doing graphic design for recurring revenue? Yeah,
it's a great question. There's a couple of things you can do. I think the lowest hanging fruit in any business is to teach what you know as a way of generating recurring revenue. So I'll give you an example. If you're a graphic designer and you've successfully managed to go from designing print magazines like annual reports or actual physical print design, and you've successfully managed to segue over to designing websites, which is a whole other skill set, what I would be doing is setting up a course on how to design for the web and putting that course online for other graphic designers. I'll give you another example. Blaj Robar from 11 Media. He designed a whole bunch of user interface elements that he put together in a product called, it might have even been called UI Kit or something, which is essentially was a Photoshop file that he was selling for like $29 on the internet. And you downloaded it, and there was a whole bunch of UI elements in there that you could use in your own designs. So he basically built that for his client work and then said, well, I've got this resource here. Why don't I put that up online and sell it as a recurring revenue product? Now, when I say recurring revenue, doesn't necessarily mean that someone is a member. It means that he's built something once and he continues to sell that. So he's leveraging his skills. And the other one, which is a little more complicated and does come down to the relationship that you've got with the developers, is the credit system, where if you say to an agency or a developer, hey, over the last year, you've spent X amount with me, you know, I'd like to incentivize you by making this financially better for you. So let's say a developer spent 10 grand with you over the last 12 months, right? Well, if you can break that down and say, well, that's what is that, $850 a month. So I'll tell you what, for $7.99 a month, if you pay $7.99 a month, you will get these credits that you can spend throughout the year. And at the end of the year, it's actually going to work out to be 10% cheaper for the developer. They're going to essentially save 10% at the end of the year. For you, it means that you don't have to raise an invoice and chase that money every time. So you're basically just removing the financial overhead. It doesn't work in every situation, but it depends on the relationship you've got with the agency or the client. But yeah, it's totally doable.
Two very, very good ideas. There's a couple of other questions here, so if you've got a couple of moments.
Yep, sure, totally.
So there's one from Andrea saying, I think most people in our audience consist of designers and developers. It's common to see people offer maintenance plans for hosting and maintenance. Any thoughts for niching down so that the services are not identical?
Yes. There's one very quick way to differentiate yourself with maintenance plans, and that is to offer a strategy call once a month or once a fortnight with your maintenance clients. Now, you can do that one-on-one or you can do it in group. And you can basically just do it like this, as a Google Hangout or a Skype call, where, because your clients are going to, two things, your clients are going to have questions and you're going to have ideas on how your clients can improve things. So let's get on a call once a fortnight with a bunch of clients, get them to meet each other, and they can actually interact with each other and help each other. Small business owners love that because they feel a bit isolated, so they love those connections. And second of all, you can say, hey, this is what's working at the moment. We've seen some success doing email campaigns or these kind of landing pages or whatever it is, or these e-commerce tricks on shopping carts or whatever it is. We think you guys should try this over the next month and see what kind of results you get. They're going to have questions. I'll give you one very, very good example. Pippin at Pippin's Plugins recently blogged, it was probably about 12 months ago, he blogged about how he got a bump on his conversion rates by shrinking his checkout page to 600 pixels wide. Now, if you've got a bunch of e-commerce clients that you're doing maintenance plans for, and you get them on a coaching call once a fortnight and give them that little nugget, the first thing they're going to say is, great, can you shrink our checkout page to 600 pixels wide? Of course I can. We'll do that as part of your maintenance plan.
Yep. Yeah, no, good thinking. I actually heard him talk about that on his podcast. Slightly unrelated, people want to know how to get an accent like this. I'm assuming they're talking about both of us because we're both speaking with our broad Australian accent.
Exactly. We're both speaking Aussie, mate. Yeah, just move to Australia, eat some kangaroo, and,
Eat some kangaroo indeed. Look, that's awesome. I really want to thank you very much, Troy, for coming along and being part of this. It's been a really well-received session this morning, so it's awesome.
My absolute pleasure and honour to be asked, and congratulations to Trisha and you and all of the volunteers for putting this event on. It's no mean feat, and you've done an awesome job, so kudos to everyone.
Thanks very much, mate. And look, I've got the URL. I'll post that again. I'm actually a member of that Recurring Revenue Facebook
beautiful
group that you've got going. So we'll make sure we get that posted and get people into that. Thanks again.
Awesome. Thanks, Peter. And
I'll get back to bed now.
No worries. I'm up now, so I'll get into the comments in Crowdcast.
Okay. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Bye for now.